Good morning. Hello, Lemonheads, Lemon Nation. We are on. It is Friday. Boy, what a week. This week has felt like 3 weeks. I mean, just a lot going on for me, but just a lot going on in the world. The avalanche of news just happening since we last spoke is, I mean, it's crazy, okay? So, LFG, I love you guys. I love you guys. Happy Friday. Good morning, y'all. I love it when people write y'all. Now, what is the proper spelling of y'all? Is it Y apostrophe A-L-L? Is it just Y-A-L-L? Is it Y-A apostrophe L? Y'all tell me. Y'all tell me. Friday, yes. Now, where are you, Lemonheads? Where are you streaming from? What is happening on this Good Friday? Last night was really amazing. You know what? I should have gotten you guys some pictures of last night. I don't know if you can find them. But anyways, went to the GLAAD Awards, which is Gay Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. It was really, really fun. Got to talk a lot about the First Amendment and journalism and for the right of a free press. And it was just really, really, really great. A lot of folks who were there. I got to see some of my friends and former colleagues, Jonathan Capehart and Eugene Daniels from MS Now. Laverne Cox was there they won an award for their segment. The Heated Rivalry guys were there. Everybody's like all over them. I was like, okay, I just did not. People were all over them. It was bizarre. Tim and I were like, what is going on here? But anyways, it was, and then there was the guy from SNL, Bowen Yang was there, and they won an award for their podcast, which is, I'm kind of behind the times. I had no idea about their podcast, and I forgot the other guy's name. But anyways, I think he's a comedian. And then, yes. And my friends, Jen and Pumps, were there. They won an award as well. And then they were behind the scenes. They were interviewing the people. Just a lot of folks there. Cheryl Lee Ralph, Quinta Brunson, who is from Abbott Elementary. She won an award. And who did I say? Cheryl Lee Ralph. A lot of folks. It was just really, really a beautiful night. And the topper at the end of the evening was Liza Minnelli. They came out and did a tribute to Liza Minnelli. She has a birthday coming up, and then she has her autobiography is coming out as well. So it was really great. So good morning. Hello, Chicago. Hello, everyone. Lots of news. Make sure you hit the like and the thumbs up because Oslo, Norway, Mark and Drew, Terry, it does affect the algorithm and more people become aware of our conversation. Jen and Pumps, yes, they were there. It's fantastic. I should have taken some pictures. I don't know if we did. I'll see if there's some. Anyways, so it was a really great evening. I came out, standing ovation. Everybody's like, freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Yay. So that was all great. And thanks to Sarah Kate Ellis over at GLAAD, who was just phenomenal. Okay, so lots of news happening, as I said, as we discuss this. And make sure you hit the like and thumbs up, as I said. First of all, I'm going to tell you, this new bombshell report about Donald Trump in the Epstein files. And it is something is going on. And the networks, I don't know, I guess the war or whatever, this war is going to the war is going to do what it do. And it's going to be headlines, and that is the point, is to try to distract from the headlines, distract from Trump, distract from all the things, including this breaking news about the economy. Here is, from none other, brace yourselves, Fox News.
We go. So we have a negative number for February non-farm payrolls, a loss of 92,000 jobs. You can see the market reacting. We are also seeing the unemployment rate tick up to 4.4%. A loss of factory jobs of 12,000. Government jobs, a loss of 6,000. Private sector jobs, a loss of 86,000. Average hourly earnings up 3.8%, which is better than expected. But obviously the headline here is what we're seeing within the report. We also got a negative read on January retail sales, 0.2% to the downside. But I do want to say again, it is the jobs report. We're also seeing here again the U6, the unemployment rate, that came in at 7.9%. Labor force participation, 62%. Again, all of these numbers, to be clear here, are the opposite of the estimates that that we got. Let me get into the report to give you exactly where the government says that these massive job losses are actually happening. Sticky report, messy report, and I'm going to be looking for revisions here in a moment. Employment and health care decreased, according to the government, reflecting strike activity, which is what Mohammed said to you moments ago, Maria. Employment and information and federal government continue to trend to the downside, according to the federal government. So again, Maria, this report, these numbers are certainly not the expectations whatsoever. A loss of 92,000 jobs. The Street, again, was looking for a gain of 59,000 jobs. And this also flies in the face of the ADP numbers that we got on Wednesday, where we saw actually hiring in the private sector, construction, education, and healthcare. I think sticky is a very key word here and a very noisy report, Maria.
I wonder if Maria Bartiromo passed out. Look, the reason that I'm laughing is because I tell you guys every day that this administration will lie on their mama. And so they have been lying about the economy since Donald Trump took office. And look, I'm not saying that that's not Trump derangement syndrome. This is Peter Baker from the New York Times. Andy, put this up. Peter Baker's tweet on Trump versus Biden's jobs. The numbers don't lie. In the 13 months since Trump took office, the economy has created a net total of 198,000 jobs compared, okay, are you ready for this? To 1.4 million created in the last 13 months of the Biden administration. Now, do I even need to say anything? $198,000. Let's just give him 200. We'll just give him that. 200,000 versus 1.4 million in the same amount of time. But yet you say that Joe Biden's economy and his jobs record's terrible. He was the worst. Joe Biden didn't know what he was doing. He was cognitive decline. And then when people say, well, if you look at the actual numbers, and if you investigate and you do compare and contrast and analysis, the metrics of the economy under Joe Biden were phenomenally better than Donald Trump. And it doesn't take an economic expert or genius to figure that out. All you have to do is just look at the numbers. To add 1 + 1, you don't need to be a genius in order to do that. You don't have to be a mathematician to know that it's 2. You don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to understand that 1.4 million versus 198,000, or as I said, give them 200,000, that those two are not comparable at all. And thank you very much, Terry. We're winning. Are you guys tired of winning? Is this what we call winning? Look at this. The U.S. economy lost 92,000 jobs in February. 92,000 jobs in February. Now, here's the thing that's been getting me about CNBC. I watch CNBC, and people watch it for economic news, and it appears that CNBC understands that they are, well, not understands. It seems like they have gotten to the point where, not all of them, but many of them, they are performing for an audience of one. It's like they're like, oh, Donald Trump is watching. How do I give this a little bit of shine, find something that's positive in there, even when there's nothing positive in there? Now, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. Am I reading this wrong? This is the CNBC report, and this guy's, it's down a teeny bit, and this is the modicum, and oh, look, this is up a fraction. And it's like, dude, you're missing the overall point here. Roll it.
What's up, Rick? Yes, here we go. This is the big Feb jobs report. Non-farm payrolls, minus 92,000. Minus 92,000. That is a biggie. Minus 92,000 last
watch the
month.
pivot.
130K downgraded to 126,000. Minus 92,000. Well, what would that comp to? Minus 185 in December of 2020. There's where our comp is. Now, that means we have a revision over 2 months now of minus 69,000. Average hourly earnings, always important, up 0.4, a little bit better than expected. Up 0.4 would equal where
pause,
we were.
Up 4 fucking tenths. And that's what he's like, it's up 4 tenths. This is TDS. Thank you very much for that in the comments. Funky for it to you too. Thank you very much. It's okay, but watch every little bit. And then this, just a smidge, keep going.
Rear view mirror to find a higher number. You're going all the way back to March of 25 when it was up 0.5. If we take a year-over-year perspective on earnings, 3.8, also 1/10 better than expected. 3.8, best since November of 25. Weekly hours worked are always key. 34.3 as expected. The unemployment rate moves up 1 tick to 4.4%. We're expecting it to remain at 4.3. 4.4 equals where we ended up last year.
Can you imagine can you imagine if the unemployment rate went up during Biden, even if it was a tick? Oh, the unemployment rate is up. Under Joe Biden, and look at how bad. If it's not going down, even if it's going down, it didn't go down fast enough. It didn't go down enough. Thank you very much. That's what I'm trying to tell you, Nadine Rice. WTF is he saying? Keep going.
Your number, you're going to November. So Deese was 4.4. November 25 was 4.5. If we look at labor force participation, wow. A big drop, 62.0. We're expecting 62.5. 62.0 would be the weakest, and I have to really go back on this. 62.0 would equal Deese of 21 to find a smaller number. You're all the way back to November of 21 when it was 61.9.
So here's the point. We're up shit creek without a paddle, is what it is, until this administration is out of office. The U.S. economy lost 92,000 jobs in February. We are in the middle of what is, quite frankly, shaping up to be a quagmire in the Middle East because Donald Trump is being dog-walked by Benjamin Netanyahu. Benjamin Netanyahu is now deciding American foreign policy and when we go to war and when we don't. The administration is lying about being in a war. They can't get their shit together. Oh, we're in a war. No, we're not in a war. It's a conflict. It's a I don't know, action, whatever they say. And let's not forget, and if you can find the thing about, I think I sent it yesterday, but anything that you can get me on the gasoline prices, because gas is now going up as well. And guess what? Dana Bash over at CNN spoke to Donald Trump about those gas prices. Remember, that's the one thing that he could rely on because the price of eggs never came down. The price of groceries never came down. The price of natural gas really did not come down. I mean, what you use to heat and cool your home, if you have a furnace or whatever, if you have gas-powered furnace, or whatever that may be. Now, check this out. Gas prices are up, and they're up. They're up a little bit. It's up more than a little bit. They're up dramatically in the short amount of time that this has happened, and they're going to continue to go up. But guess what, people? In many of the places, or most of the places that supported Donald Trump, that's where the prices are up the most. States with the biggest rise in gas prices compared to a week ago. And this is a state that their economy is based on oil. Both of my parents worked for Exxon Chemicals, Exxon Refinery, Exxon whatever. Thank you very much for my education in my home and all of that as a kid. But that's where the oil industry is. Louisiana, up 39.7 cents a gallon. That's a lot in the short. Georgia, again, Louisiana, red state. Georgia, red state, up 37.5 cents a gallon. Iowa, 35.6 cents a gallon. Indiana, 35.2 cents a gallon. West Virginia, the coal mining state, 35 cents a gallon. Oklahoma, that's where our new Department of Homeland Security Secretary is going to be. I think he has to be confirmed, but still, that's probably going to be him. What's his name? Mullen, John Wayne, whatever, Mark Wayne Mullen. He's from Oklahoma, 34.8 cents. North Dakota, 34.2 cents. Ohio, 34.1 cents. South Dakota, 32.6 cents. Illinois, 31.1 cents. Gas is up 70 cents just this week here in Florida, according to Ms. Ams. Now, Florida, you know, red. We love Trump. I will vote for Donald Trump. Florida. Marco Rubio, Florida. We're going to talk about Marco Rubio in about Cuba in just a second. But this is where our economy is. Our economy has fallen off of a cliff. And people will tell you the economy is doing great. It's doing great for rich people. It's terrible for people who are not so rich. And I'm not even talking about poor people, not so rich. Susie Wiles, who is that? That is the White House Chief of Staff. She tells Politico is reporting Susie Wiles is sounding the alarm, and this is the president's chief of staff, sounding the alarm on gas prices. In the meantime, Donald Trump is talking to Dana Bash over at the CNN, and he's downplaying it, lying. Here it is.
Region. I asked about rising gas prices, and he said, that's all right. It'll be short term. It'll go way down very quickly. And I said, well, they're pretty high now. And he said, no, they're not. They're up a little bit, not much, but it'll drop to record lows. And so I asked, well, does this mean that you're going to figure out the Strait of Hormuz soon? Again, something you were just talking about. He said, quote, it's already figured out. We've knocked their Navy because, you know, when you knock out the Navy, they can't do what they wanted to be able to do. The Navy is almost, he said, we just hit the 25 mark. Can you imagine that? Big ones. 25 ships are down. We're doing very well. And
this man is going to be the death of the economy. And look, in a war, that could be the death of us. Certainly the death of people, especially our service members who have died, 6 so far, I believe. I don't know if that number has risen. And then even he is saying that number will probably rise as they are sending more troops to the Middle East. Now, as we are in this, let's play. This is Kevin Hassett trying to just spinning this morning on the TV, again, CNBC, trying to pretend that, we're not surprised by this. Bullshit. Here it is.
Are there enough asterisks, in Jim's words, to make this number make more sense?
Well, I think, Jim's right that there have been so many strong indicators this month that it's something of a surprise, but there's some weather, there are strikes on the West Coast, and I think that we also have this birth-death model, a change in the procedure at the BLS. And so I think what we need to start doing with these jobs numbers, at least on the payroll side, is take the average over a few months. And if you take the average over a few months, we had a surprisingly positive one last month and a surprisingly negative one this one. But on average, it's about what we expect to be seeing because immigration has gone down by so much that break-even employment is probably in the sort of 30 or 40,000 jobs a month range. And so, yeah, I think it's consistent with everything else we're seeing, which is that the economy is really strong.
Kevin Hassett, shut up, man. Come on. None of that is true at all. He's lying. We have to, again, just compare the numbers. Now, look, I want to get to Cuba real quickly before we bring in on our other news, and we want to talk about Donald Trump and the Epstein files. I want to get to Cuba because Dana Bash spoke with Donald Trump about Cuba, okay? But here's the thing. The news that people have not been covering, and I've been trying to cover, we did a little bit of it on Substack, but I've been wanting to cover more of this because Donald Trump, according to the reports, is squeezing Cuba, trying to get rid of Cuba, trying to take Cuba over. That's what the reports say. That he is possibly trying to take over Cuba, maybe do a Greenland sort of thing. But the way he's doing it is by squeezing them, by robbing them, so to speak, of their ability to be able to get natural gas and oil to be able to fuel their lives, including hospitals and energy and everything. And so this is a report. I want to play this report, the animated report, to explain to you what is happening. And this was a week or two ago that this started happening, that people started paying attention to it. And then all of a sudden he's on the phone with Dana Bash today, and he just out of nowhere brings up Cuba, which it leads some credence to the reports that this is happening. Now take a look. It's a little bit long. It's not as sexy as people think, not as gossipy or the tea, but it's really important information. So sit back and listen.
For 60 years, America squeezed Cuba with sanctions. But what's happening now is something different. This isn't about democracy. This is about ownership. In January 2026, President Trump signed an executive order threatening tariffs on any nation that ships oil to Cuba. Not a bullet fired, not a ship deployed, just a pen. And it worked. The tankers stopped. Venezuela backed off. Mexico pulled away. Russia rerouted. Cuba's oil supply collapsed almost overnight. What comes next is predictable. Blackouts that last days. Hospitals running on fumes. 11 million people watching their stoves go cold. Their streets go quiet. Their children go hungry. The White House calls it maximum pressure. But look at the pattern. Greenland, the Panama Canal, Canada, and now an island 90 miles off the coast of Florida. This administration doesn't squeeze countries to free them. It squeezes countries to take them. Starve the island, break the government, then move in. And the 11 million people caught in the middle, they were never part of the plan.
You're muted, Don.
Thank you, Andy. That's the report. One quick social media, a reporter on social media, and then we'll get to Dana Bash. Here it is.
Cuba has fallen. That's the news that I am delivering to you today. It has been 15 days since the blockade had begun, where all oil for the oil-dependent nation has been blocked. And though the Cuban government has tried to ration that as long as they can, the fact is they've just timed out. They've ran out of oil. So what we're watching right now is a complete collapse of the Cuban national energy grid. There are pockets of generated power for military bases and bunkers, compounds like that don't help the people. For 95% of the population, over 11 million people are now without power, and that power is not coming back on. Our focus on this series has really been to highlight what's going on for the Cuban people as themselves, not just the melodrama that's playing between the Cuban government and the American administration. And over the past 15 days, the Cuban people have been living through what is essentially an apocalyptic scenario, but only kind of on the precipice. As of today, it goes full-blown apocalyptic in Cuba. We're no longer tracking blackout hours. We're now going to start tracking the survival metrics. Water access, food spoilage, and of course, cholera outbreaks.
So there you go. And that is another report from Cuba. There haven't been many reports in mainstream media. Some, I have to give them credit, but not many. And then this morning, Dana Bash, my friend, former colleague, speaking to the president, he brings up Cuba out of the blue. This is going to be a Greenland situation. Watch.
He quickly turned to Cuba. He said, without being asked, Cuba is going to fall pretty soon, by the way, but Cuba is going to fall. They want to make a deal so badly. And I asked, how so? He said, they want to make a deal, so I'm going to put Marco over there, and we'll see how that works. But we're really focused on this one now, meaning Iran. We've got plenty of time on Cuba.
So I'm just trying to figure out, that's what a bully does. What does Cuba have to, what threat is Cuba to the United States? Cuba has something that he wants, land. As we know, the best way to get your face on Mount Rushmore or something like that is to have the United States acquire and have more land mass, because most of the presidents who are up there, that's what they did. So Donald Trump is on a mission of some sort to acquire land for the United States, to take over countries, land masses, governments. He said he wants to decide who's going to be in charge of Iran. He wants Greenland. Unbelievable. So you see the economy's in the tank, in the shitter, pardon my French, a loss of 92,000 jobs in February as compared to Joe Biden, the last 13 months of Joe Biden's administration, which was 1.4 million jobs. Donald Trump in the same amount of time has only done what? Added 198,000 jobs to the economy. This isn't Trump derangement syndrome. This is the truth. Donald Trump is horrible at governing. And he could be the death of us if this continues in Iran. This is a quagmire. The reports are saying now, Donald Trump said, well, maybe it's going to be 4 weeks. The reports coming from inside of the administration, according to sources, that it could be until September that we're here. The last time we did this, it took us 20 years to get out of Afghanistan. And then there is the Epstein files. There are the Epstein files. And that's what we're going to discuss with our guests next. But first, a word from our sponsors. Support for the Don Lemon Show comes from 120 Life. High blood pressure is one of those things that doesn't always feel urgent until someone close to you is affected, or maybe yourself, right? And I'm going to be honest with you, I have been paying more attention to my own numbers lately. When you start hearing doctors talk about how common high blood pressure really is, it really makes you think. So here is the truth, everyone. High blood pressure is the #1 risk factor for mortality, and about half of all adults have it. The scary part is most people don't even know. So by March, a lot of people have already fallen off their New Year health goals, right? Well, life gets busy, but your blood pressure doesn't take a season off. That's why I like 120 Life. It's a once-a-day functional drink made from a blend of superfruit juices designed to support healthy blood pressure. It's not a pill. It's not a stimulant. It's simple and easy to make part of your daily routine. Doctors are recommending it more and more, and many people start seeing improvements in just a couple weeks. So go to 120life.com, that's 120life.com, and use the code DON for 20% off. Try it risk-free for 2 weeks. Now, I need to tell you that these statements have not been approved by the FDA, and always check with your doctor. We are sponsored by Incogni. Now, let me tell you something a lot of people don't realize, and that's thousands of companies that you've never heard of. They're collecting and selling your personal data every single day. Your name, your phone number, home addresses, information about your relatives, even your shopping habits. And most of the time, you never gave them permission, if you gave them at all, right? I had a moment that made me think about this when someone I know started noticing suspicious charges on their credit card, and that definitely wasn't their charges. So I checked into it. They told me that they had to cancel the card, deal with the whole headache. It was amazing. So that's when I realized just how much our information is floating around online. And that's where Incogni comes in. They help remove your data, your personal data, from data brokers' websites that profit from selling your information. So when I used it, when I tried it, I was shocked at just about how many sites that had my data. Incogni handles the requests, the follow-ups, even the pushback from those brokers. And that matters because scammers use that information to make their messages look real. And you can fall for it really easily. One of those delivery texts the other day came to me, easy to fall for. So take control of your privacy. Go to incogni.com/DonLemon and use the code DonLemon for 60% off. Thank you to our sponsors. Okay, I'm going to bring in now we're going to discuss what's happening with these Epstein files because there's something shady going on. Monique Pressy's here, friend of the show, one of my dear friends, a legal analyst, political commentator, trial attorney, and again, a dear friend of the Don Lemon Show. Monique, thank you for joining us. Let me just read some of the headlines, at least get the folks caught up. And I reported on this yesterday. So according to these, and Monique, you can correct me if I'm wrong, jump in here. There are these 302 reports that had been in the Epstein files that all of a sudden went missing from the Epstein files. And a 302 report is the government or the FBI agents. It's how they memorialize what witnesses tell them about certain cases. Well, the Justice Department has posted a trio of FBI interviews with a woman who alleged that President Donald Trump sexually assaulted her when she was a young teenager after she was introduced to him by Jeffrey Epstein. The woman's central allegation, according to the FBI summaries of her interviews with investigators known as FBI 302s, is that Trump hit her after she bit his penis when he attempted to force her to perform oral sex. Now, that is according to that. Of course, he has denied it. They're saying that this is uncorroborated or unsubstantiated. So the three files are coming now as Democrats are investigating whether the department purposefully withheld materials that included SA allegations against Trump. Again, he has denied any wrongdoing in relation to the Epstein allegations, and he hasn't been charged with a crime in connection to them. I hate that we have to say that we know that. Anyways, there's no evidence to suggest that Trump took part in the Epstein sex trafficking operation, except I don't know if there's any evidence he took part, but there are certainly some very serious allegations here, Monique.
Yes, this report by this woman is certainly a serious allegation. And the Justice Department at the time thought it was noteworthy enough to do consecutive interviews and ask questions, and then made a determination that it should not go further.
Okay, and why would they make that kind of determination? Do you know?
Well, I mean, it may be that they could not substantiate any of the claims. It may be that it's because the person can recall some things, but not others. And I think it's important to note that though I hate ever quoting Carolyn Levitt about anything, she is correct that for the entirety of the Biden-Harris administration, this was known and available. And if any action was taken on it, certainly no action was ever taken to refer it for criminal charges or do anything public with regard to this particular allegation. The woman says that it happened either in New York or New Jersey. She cannot recall which nor exactly where. And that over age, over time, trauma, all of those things could affect someone's memory. But in reality, what it also affects is whether a case could actually be brought. Like if there was enough substantiation on this, then in New York, you have a certain period of time when for child sex assault allegations, it can be up until the person is, I believe it's 25 years old that the allegation can be brought, so that will have expired. In New Jersey, there's no expiration. So if it can be substantiated that it did happen, that the meeting happened, let's start there, where they were all in the same place, same time, figuring out which state it was in would be an important first step. And then where civil allegations are concerned, I think that those can be brought up until the time the person is 55 years old, whether it's in either state.
So this is the 302. This is the part that was, and it is very salacious. I just want to give you a warning here. It says, could not recall, and things are redacted. Let's put this up. This is from the New York Times. Could not recall the identities of the other individuals present. However, they all exited when Trump asked everyone to leave the room. Again, these are the allegations. This is in the files. Trump mentioned something to the effect of, let me teach you how little girls are supposed to be. Trump unzipped his pants and put Blank's head down to his, bit the shit out of it. That was a quote. Trump struck and said the words to the effect of, get this little B the hell out of here. Advised that she bit Trump's because he disgusted her. He had money. It reeked off of him. At that point, people re-entered the room. No further information is provided. Recalled a blonde, beautiful woman approaching her at some point that day after her interaction with Trump. The woman said, let me give you a tip, little girl, about your breasts. Wear a bra every night. Those words have stayed with her throughout the years, and it just goes on. But again, this is very, so the excuse for this is that they said that this had been removed from the files because it was redundant, because it was it was a duplicate in some way.
Right. Now,
But these,
there are two different things happening.
yeah.
The substance of the accusations and what will or will not be done about pursuing and trying to find evidence in support of those things, and whether a charge will ensue or civil litigation is ensuing, whatever the case may be, that's one thing. Where the Congress is saying that the law has been broken by the Trump administration is that they were duty bound to turn this information over and failed to do so. And it was obviously intentional. And so, and there is no excuse, whether duplicative or not. Like, you can't decide you're going to purge. And if that was the case, then it would also be in there in another form, and it's not. Those same 302s are not found in what was actually released. So this is intentional keeping of information that Congress by law is now entitled to. And I am also interested in why they are saying that this person has a long criminal history and is mentally disturbed, because I think with this material being redacted, that's not something even the press secretary is supposed to know. I don't know how many people are clued in to the fact that that's happening now. So I don't know if they have fed her information and she's just regurgitating it like that, or if she has access to information that she should not about the alleged victim of a crime that was perpetrated by the President of the United States many years ago.
So if it was indeed intentional, then what are the ramifications as it relates to the Justice Department or anyone who may have ordered this to be taken out or removed? What happens to the folks at the Justice Department or the FBI or wherever?
Depends on who wins in November, Don. Because Bondi could be impeached, and we know that's not going to happen unless and until the control of Congress changes. People could be prosecuted. The Congress, the House, the Senate could sue. The executive branch could order charges be brought. But again, none of that is going to happen under this current regime. So I think the reason why what happened with Kristi Noem is instructive is if you juxtapose it with the way that Pam Bondi showed her whole behind and wouldn't let up on anything and did that complete Trump rant, that was her job security. Kristi Noem has committed all kinds of crimes, and her action has caused Americans to be killed and caused children to be missing. And she was going to hold on to her job until she didn't stand up for the president and make him look good and actually put responsibility where it likely belonged for that ridiculous $220 million ad propaganda campaign. So Bondi is in place because she's continuing to be his henchman and do what he expects her to do. None of that changes right now. So the purpose of the hearings is to expose it so that the American people can know, so that they can understand we are living under an autocracy. And the only way that changes is if you make sure that you are voting. And yes, 202-224-3121. Call your members of Congress. Complain, especially if you're from a red state. Shame them. Let them know their seats are up for grabs. You expect them to take action. That's where we are.
Okay, so then let's talk about that. I'm glad that you mentioned what happens in November and a red state. Oliver Larkin is here. He's a union organizer running for the Congress in Florida's 23rd district. And Saikat Chakrabarty, I hope I said that right, Saikat, is running for Congress in California's 11th district. That's Nancy Pelosi's seat. Also,
That's right.
Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, former chief of staff. Thank you, guys, for joining. I know that we're a little bit late and you've been sitting in the green room watching this, but part of that was strategic because I wanted you to hear what's going on. We have been discussing, you heard what Monique says, Oliver, since you were in the red state. You heard what Monique said. A lot of this depends on what happens in November. Look at the jobs report that we got today. Look at what is happening overseas. Look at what's happening with the Epstein files and all of the, the deflecting and everything that's coming. Look at what happened with Kristi Noem just yesterday. And now word, put up the headline real quick for me, Andy, of Corey Lewandowski, who was the man in question about from Congress about were they sleeping together or whatever. But according to Kyle Griffin over at MS Now, Corey Lewandowski is now out at DHS. We got a lot of gyrations happening in this country.
Gyrations.
What's your take on this? What'd you say?
You said gyrations. That's exactly
I did.
what it means.
Go ahead, Oliver.
Yeah, and thanks so much for having me on, Don. Let's start with the jobs report, because here in our state of Florida, we are one of the most heavily reliant states on the Affordable Care Act. These cuts that Republicans have made to the Affordable Care Act and to Medicaid in the One Big Beautiful Bill last year. Florida is one of the most reliant states on the ACA. Our small businesses, they are increasingly reliant on these programs, the subsidies for healthcare. And so we're really suffering here. We're on the front lines of the economic and affordability crisis. There was a poll from Florida Atlantic University last fall, which is in our district, that reported that over 50% of Floridians are considering leaving the state. And when you think about the chaos that's going on right now, it's Iran, but it's also in Cuba and Venezuela. And Florida is one of the most heavily impacted, with our population of TPS recipients from Haiti, from Venezuela, that this administration and Kristi Noem have tried to invalidate those legal protections. It is really in an effort to manufacture an immigration crisis that this regime can use to exploit to their own political ends. And this also has to do with the Epstein class. I'm running to represent parts of Palm Beach County, just a stone's throw away from Mar-a-Lago. This is an administration that has 16 billionaires represented in Trump-nominated or cabinet-appointed positions. This is the Epstein class that we are struggling against. There is a level of elite impunity that happens in this country, and we see it in just the reporting that you were doing on this newly released Justice Department file. So in the event that Democrats hopefully take back the House in November, we should absolutely be looking at filing articles of impeachment, not only against Donald Trump, but against members of this administration, including Attorney General Pam Bondi, for withholding withholding these documents that are required by the passage of the Ro Khanna Thomas Massie Epstein files law. So we need to take back the House, and we need to issue these criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Of course, we can't expect Trump's DOJ to follow through on any of that, but it will at least put a marker in the ground ahead of 2028 when we need to win back the White House, because then we will have finally some measure of accountability for the just immense amounts of law breaking that are going on. And it's by design that it's happening so fast in so many different areas and so many different directions that it's hard to keep up with. But there has to be accountability, and taking back the House in November has got to be the first step for Democrats to start to call all this back.
But before Psycat jumps in, I just want to ask you if you are paying attention, because Florida, everyone pays attention to Florida and Texas. Are they going to turn blue? Are they going to turn blue? You see what's happening in Texas. Are you paying close attention to Texas, and does that give you some sort of hope, or is there any? Can you learn from anything that has happened in Texas with the primary?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what we just saw in Texas was Democrats actually outvoting Republicans for the first time in nearly a generation. And this comports with what we've seen. I was actually knocking on doors the last several weekends of the Miami mayoral runoff election to elect the first woman mayor in Miami's history, Eileen Higgins. The swings that we've seen in elections, it is not just restricted to South Florida. It happened in the special elections last April in Escambia County, where Gay Valamont ran to replace Matt Gaetz. We flipped Escambia County for the first time again in a generation. Randy Fine's seat, that was a much, much closer race than Republicans were anticipating, and they were really sweating it at the very end. And so what I think we're seeing, and what is potentially the case in a state like Texas, is Republicans have gotten so extreme with their partisan gerrymandering, it could end up being a dummy mander if there's the Democratic enthusiasm and turnout that we saw that was indicated in the primary elections on Tuesday. We could actually see Democrats with the opportunity to take back the House, and Republicans' efforts to just continue to suppress votes may turn out to bite them in the behind, because we've knocked on 5,000 doors here in our district since November. And what we're hearing, people are volunteering to our volunteers words like authoritarianism, fascism, dictatorship, Gestapo when they're talking about ICE, and all of it is overarched with the cost of living and the affordability crisis that when we see more and more of our taxpayer dollars going to fund wars of choice and endless forever wars, regime change, they're not going towards the affordability crisis. They're not going towards investing in good paying jobs. And we just saw that catastrophic jobs report from February with 92,000 jobs lost. So I think it's coming together. I hate that we had to touch the hot stove in 2024 to have Trump back in place in the White House. But I think people are waking up and they're really suffering in this economy, and they're seeing the elite impunity and just the lack of accountability for anything that the Trump administration is doing.
So, Sycat, listen, you know that this is going to be very important, and I'm sure you're paying close attention to the job numbers and the economic numbers overall, because California has the world's fourth largest economy, the GDP of approximately $4.3 trillion, and that trails only to the United States, China, Germany, and then recently surpassing Japan. This is an important seat that the Democrats have to keep here, but they also need momentum around the country. November of 2026 is very important for the health of Americans and the health of our country and our democracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you've seen with Donald Trump is that he got elected saying he's going to completely change the economy, right? Because people are suffering from a cost of living crisis. He's going to end corruption, and that he's going to get us out of all of our wars. And after coming in, he's completely failed to fix the economy. He's gotten us into a bunch more wars, and this is by far the most corrupt administration in the history of our country. So what's really going to matter in November or in 2026 is, yes, we have to take back the House, but I believe that Democrats need to have a vision that's not just about going back to a pre-Trump status quo, because that wasn't working. We actually have to have a vision for fixing those problems that led to Trump in the first place, and it's got to be a real transformative vision of a new economy that really does change, fix the cost of living crisis and get us out of all these wars. I will say, I mean, this war in Iran is a total quagmire. That's the right word to use for it. We've seen this before. We saw it in Iraq. We saw it in Afghanistan. We saw it in Libya and Syria. And I was sort of disappointed to see that when we had the War Powers Resolution vote just yesterday, you had 4 Democrats cross over to vote against that War Powers Resolution, right? So it's going to matter that we not just win back the House, but we have a Democratic Party that's willing to fight to get us out of these wars, that's willing to fight to actually create an affordable life, and that roots out corruption and totally, holds this Epstein class accountable and prosecutes them.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that you said there were 4 Democrats, right, that crossed over? I was surprised by that as well.
Well, whenever there's 4 Democrats, if you look at the vote, it's 219 to 212, right? So those 4 Democrats actually gave that vote. That's usually a sign that there's more than 4 Democrats. And part of that is because there is a part of the Democratic Party right now that is for these wars, that's for, U.S. interventionism abroad. And it's unfortunately just part of the party. I mean, we saw this back in November when the government passed a $900 billion defense budget right before Trump went into Venezuela. You had 115 Democrats vote for that defense budget, right? There's been a bipartisan consensus for this kind of foreign policy for a long time in DC, and we have to completely change it. That's going to require replacing pretty much the entire Republican Party as it is today, but also a lot of the current Democratic establishment as well.
I want to talk about Kristi Noem. I want to talk more about the Epstein files. First, I want to get a word in from our sponsors. We're back with our guests in 2 minutes. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Now, it's almost International Women's Day, and it's a moment to celebrate the strength and the resilience of women everywhere. But it's also a reminder of just how much women carry every single day. Now, I always think about my mom when this time of year comes around. She's been the steady force, the center of our family for my whole life, working hard, showing up for everyone, encouraging us, reminding us who we are when we forget. But even the strongest people need space to take care of themselves. And that's where therapy can help. A place to process what you're carrying, set boundaries, and talk through life with someone who is there just for you. BetterHelp makes therapy more accessible. Their therapists are fully licensed, and they match you with someone based on your needs through a simple questionnaire. So if it's not the right fit, you can switch anytime. With more than 30,000 therapists and over 5 million people served, BetterHelp is one of the largest therapy platforms in the world. So find support and feel lighter. Go to betterhelp.com/DonLemon for 10% off of your first month. Support comes from Shopify. Now let me paint a picture for you. It's late at night, you're scrolling through your phone, you see something that you really been wanting, and you click the link. You add it to your cart and you're ready to check out. Then you realize that your card isn't anywhere near you, but then you see it. That Shop Pay button that already has your information saved, and checkout takes just a tap. So that's Shopify working in the background for you. Shopify powers millions of businesses around the world and about 10% of all e-commerce in the United States, from major brands to people just starting their first online shop. And I got to tell you, here at the Don Lemon Show, we use Shopify for our very own merch. They make it easy with easy-to-use store templates, built-in AI tools for writing product descriptions and headlines, and tools that help you run email and social media campaigns. Plus, they handle the complicated stuff like payments, shipping, and returns. So if you're ready to sell, you are ready for Shopify. Start your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/lemon. Shopify.com/lemon. Thanks to our sponsors. Of course, thank you to our sponsors. They keep us viable out here on these streaming streets. We love you, sponsors. Thank you for supporting independent journalism. Okay, so look, I want to talk about Kristi Noem. This is what I believe. Okay, I think that that Donald Trump is obviously living in a bubble. He doesn't understand what's happening in America. Originally, he was very good at sort of gaming what was in the zeitgeist. Capitalizing on people's emotions and feelings rather than facts. And I don't think he understands the facts now that he is deeply unpopular. His policies are unpopular. People don't like the people he has appointed to his administration, especially Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, and Kristi Noem, who was fired yesterday, or demoted, but basically fired, put out to pasture, so to speak. And so this is the polling numbers. This is my friend and former colleague over at CNN, Harry Inton, talking about Kristi Noem's popularity or lack of popularity. Here it is.
The American people wanted her fired. They wanted her removed. She was a political nightmare for the President of the United States. I mean, just take a look at this. Wanted Noem removed as DHS Secretary. Overall, last month, Quinnipiac University found the majority of Americans, 58%, wanted her to be adios amigos, goodbye, see you later. Among independents, you can see it right here, 62% of independents, we're talking more than 3 in 5 independents, wanted her kicked to the curb. So Donald Trump here making the politically popular move because Americans were simply put sick of Kristi Noem.
And this was well before this testimony that was so controversial. All right, how about her approval rating? How has that tracked?
Yeah, how is that tracked? Look, the idea that Kristi Noem is unpopular is not a new phenomenon. It's one that is dated all the way back to the beginning of Trump's second term. I mean, just take a look here. Okay, Kristi Noem's net popularity rating during Donald Trump's term. Positive in none, zero, nada. None of the polls did she have a positive net approval rating. In all of the polls, she was underwater, swimming in the deep blue sea. She had a negative net popularity rating in every single poll conducted during Donald Trump's second term. Simply put, Americans did not like the job that she was doing as DHS Secretary. And recently, the clear majority of Americans, about 3 in 5, wanted her kicked to the curb. Fired, as I said, by Donald Trump. So again, Trump doing what the American people wanted him to do.
Monique, if Donald Trump wants his poll numbers to improve, he's going to have to do a lot of things. One is he's got to end this quagmire, right? 2 is he's got to get rid of some people. And I believe he's got to get rid of Pam Bondi and Pete Hegseth and some others, probably Kash Patel. He's got to clean house and start over again. And I don't know if that's possible and if that will actually even make a difference moving into November, considering we've all seen the pictures. I've witnessed it. The people who are being dragged off of the streets, pulled by their hair and, their backs of their coats, and people who have been arrested and detained who are American citizens who don't have criminal records. That's hard to overcome. That opposition ad writes itself in November.
Certainly it does. But here's the thing about his popularity. Because he's not running for office, no matter what he says, unless the reason his poll numbers change is because gas prices start coming down, unemployment corrects, economic situations change, it's not going to matter for November. The Democrats right now are in a position where we can only mess ourselves up by not putting forward the right story and the right messaging for people to go out to the polls. Because even as upset as they are about Kristi Noem, and as upset as they're going to be about Mullen, who is not going to be any better, that situation in and of itself is not going to be the driver for the polls. What's going to be the driver is they want a whole different Congress that is not a lackey to this president's whims. And they want their own personal situations, their kitchen counter issues to change. And I think one of the messages they refused to believe going into this election, they might now understand, oh, it actually was better. How do we know it was better? Because things are so much worse. Like everything that he said was terrible was not terrible. And the minute that the true corrective came in and people could start feeling the better that the world knew about the United States economy, he started tanking it. So it's going to be up to the bulk of us, the people who care about democracy, to bring people off of their couches and into those voting booths. And God help us, we got to make sure we have voting booths to go to.
Yeah. Monique, thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll see you soon. Thank you for analyzing. Oliver, do you agree with what Monique said? I gave you my remedy for Donald Trump. If there is one, don't trust me. I'm not giving them advice. I'm just analyzing here because I think Donald Trump needs to be out of office. He should never have been elected president. But Oliver, do you agree with what the remedy would be? And then what, again, takes us forward to November?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one reason that Kristi Noem has been so unpopular is that this administration has made her a very public face of its unpopular detention and deportation regime. When you're going through the airports, you're seeing these Orwellian videos of Kristi Noem saying,
if you'll allow, if you'll allow, sorry to cut you off, she has made herself, and that's part of the problem that got her fired, because according to the reports and President Trump, she lied about this campaign, which put her in all the airports of her on horseback and, in front of Mount Rushmore and, horseback riding and boating through the plains. Sorry to cut you off. Go on.
Yeah, so it's absolutely when people identify members of this administration with the very unpopular policies, then it completely drags down Trump's popularity as a whole. And so we've already seen with the ICE deployments in Minneapolis, the leadership change there, bringing in Tom Homan. So the level of damage control that the Trump administration is having to do to correct for these very visible public relations errors that they're making with this horrendous policy. It's, again, Kash Patel, after impugning Democrats for being wasteful with private jet spending, and then he's jetting off to the Olympics to take beer showers with the men's hockey team. People see the hypocrisy. People see that it is the pot calling the kettle black. And again, so much of what Republicans do with their public relations is projection. It is a game of projection, of casting their corruption on their political opponent. But it absolutely is an indicator that what Donald Trump's administration is doing is wholly unpopular with the American people. And if they're going to try to save themselves, then we're going to expect to see more and more leadership changes before November. But I don't think that this is something that the Republicans can simply dig themselves out of, because the economy, on top of the negative press with the authoritarian tactics of this government, the economy is not getting any better for working people. Healthcare is getting more unaffordable. We've gone the longest period in U.S. history since the minimum wage was established that the minimum wage has not been raised. And corporate money in politics, we're seeing the flood of spending with AI and other corporate interest in our elections. We just saw that on Tuesday. So the Trump administration has a hole to climb out of. And I don't think it's simply going to be enough to have the rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic with leadership changes like getting rid of Kristi Noem.
Yeah, look, the advice would be to, just keep doing what you're doing, right? That's what most people, just keep doing what you're doing. But sadly, by doing what he's doing, I think obviously people have lost their lives. Look at what happened in Minnesota and California with Keith Porter, Alex Preddy, and Renee Good. But thank you for that very vivid thing, illustration, Kash Patel taking beer showers with the hockey team. Okay, that's something I did not need in my brain. So I wonder if you agree with that, Cy-Cat, because again, and I hate to keep harping on this, but November is going to be extremely important. We are concerned now whether we're going to have a free and fair election, whether Donald Trump is going to try to use some sort of emergency power so that he can take over the elections come November. Look at what he's doing in Cuba. Look at what he wants to do with Greenland. Look at what he mentioned himself. He said we should nationalize the election. Republicans should take over the election. Now, that's not constitutionally sound, but this administration will try anything.
Yeah, I think the best potential defense against our elections being stolen in November is going to be to have as big of a margin as possible. I mean, because we know that anywhere where the elections are close, they're going to deny the elections anyway. I mean, that's what Trump did for 4 years. So of course they're going to deny, and try to, make it a gray area about whether or not these elections were real. So we have to have a large margin. And I think there's kind of two tactics going in November. One is the Democrats kind of don't say very much, let Trump self-immolate and just win off the backlash to Trump. And I think that will probably result in a win, just given the way things are going. But I think the way to get a larger margin to win as many blue seats as possible is to give a proactive vision of what we're going to do. Really, not just about the economy, because the economy is tanking, but also go after them on the corruption. Corruption is up there with the economy as one of the top issues that Americans care about. It shows up in poll after poll. And this is such a corrupt administration. So talk about, the crazy crypto deals that he's doing. Talk about the quid pro quo that's going on inside his administration right now. And on top of that, I think we have to be very clear about being an anti-war party. That's just going to be this massive issue going into November, because I don't see us getting out of Iran anytime soon. This conflagration is spreading all across the Middle East. So I think Democrats have to be very clear about that, how we're going to get out of this war. And then one other thing I'm going to throw in there. I mean, the threat of AI on our economy is just going up and up and up. We're seeing more and more job loss that's happening from AI. I think right now, Democrats have been a little bit scared to proactively message about what to do about this, both because they're afraid of the huge amounts of money that OpenAI and other AI companies are spending in these elections, but also because I think Democrats aren't entirely sure what the message is. So I'd say get ahead of that issue, start talking about it now, and start having a real vision of what to do to protect Americans. Because if you give a message that's going to excite people to come out and vote, we're going to be able to win much larger majorities. And I think that's the way we make sure we actually have elections in 26.
Gentlemen, you've been amazing, and best of luck to you. If you ever want to come back on, if you got something to say, let us know. Is there anything that we discussed that you didn't get to talk about? The Epstein files, the economy, any of the subjects that we covered this morning? If you want to say anything else about?
I would just love to remark that among these 4 Democrats that voted against the Ro Khanna Thomas Massey War Powers Resolution, we see Jared Moskowitz, my opponent, as someone who came out early on with Josh Gottheimer and actually calling this War Powers Resolution the Ayatollah Protection Act, but then backtracking when he's seen the public backlash. And I think, frankly, seeing our primary campaign challenge him, but it's not enough to simply be cowed into the right position because you're fearing losing your job. This is an indication that we need new leadership in the Democratic Party, leadership that is willing to push this party to be better and not simply be reactive to whatever the Republicans are doing and just coasting off of their unpopularity. We need a new vision for the Democratic Party if we're going to have a sustainable path back to power.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Oliver just said there. And I just want to say there is this massive change moment happening in the country right now. There's people running all over the country to challenge a status quo with a real new vision. People like Oliver who are primarying sitting establishment Democrats. I'm really excited that you're doing that, Oliver. And I think there's going to be a chance for a whole new generation of Democrats to be in there with the vision for what to actually do. So as much as we focus on a lot of what's going on wrong right now with Donald Trump, I think there is real case for optimism as well.
Thank you very much. Oliver Larkin is a union organizer running for Congress in Florida's 23rd district. And Saikat Chakrabarty is running for Congress in California's 11th district, Nancy Pelosi's seat. Also, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, former chief of staff. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate it. Good seeing both of you.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, so we'll see those guys soon. And what an interesting day. I think I got to talk about everything, but the thing that I wanted to, obviously the Epstein thing is just unbelievable. We'll see what happens with that. Donald Trump continues to deny, but the whole Cuba thing should be concerning to all of us because this is what it's like to live in a dictatorship or in an authoritarian regime. this is what it is like. So if you would like to know anything about the Don Lemon Show, here's what you do. Andy, let me know if you have some of those images that I sent. If you do, if you don't, no big deal. Go to donlemon.com. At the top of donlemon.com, the very tippy top, you can see where D.L. Hughley and I will be performing, and our DL and DL two-man show, Anything Goes. Raleigh, North Carolina, 4-8. Cleveland, Ohio, 4-4. 4-3, 4-3 in Raleigh. 4-4 in Cleveland. Boston is 4-17, and Tyson's, Virginia is 4-18. Man, going to be busy, and that's just where we're starting, and we're going to go around the country. So get your tickets because they sell out. Also, anything you want to know about the show at donlemon.com. Check out if you hit the watch button, you can become a member, subscribe, please. That is what keeps us viable here. So we thank you for becoming a subscriber. It's free. Become a member. It's paid. It's very reasonable. And if you are a member, you can gift a membership. And if you are a subscriber or a member on YouTube, I would encourage you to go to twitch.tv/Don Lemon, or just go back to donlemon.com and click the icon that looks like a quotation mark. And that is where our Twitch is. And then there it is right there. And you can see us live there. Also back out to donlemon.com. You can go and click on our Substack and become a subscriber or a member there, both on Twitch and on Substack. So if you're on YouTube, go subscribe there as well. Okay. And then check out our merch. Can you believe I'm not wearing any merch today? I decided not to put on any merch because actually I need to have it cleaned. So, pardon me. You can go on our website and check out everything. We are also trying to protect journalists here at the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel. And we have some merch that can help you do that. We will not be silenced. We will not be silenced. There are stickers and also t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, and short sleeve t-shirts, and go get it. We will not be silenced. We stand with independent journalism, the Don Lemon Show. So thank you guys so much. Do you have any of the images from last night, Andy? We were at the GLAAD Awards. That's Tim and me on the red carpet last night at GLAAD. Tim looking good. That's me giving Jonathan Capehart his GLAAD Award for Best Journalism Segment. Him and Eugene Daniels won. That's me presenting the award to them, and also speaking out about the First Amendment, which is freedom of the press. Yes, that was me right there talking and laughing. I was telling the last time that I was in this place, there were federal agents trying to get me, and everybody laughed. But it was a very supportive crowd. Tim and I on the red carpet again at the GLAAD Awards. This is really a beautiful, beautiful night. Pardon me. People were just in a really great mood. I think the stars of the night were Jen and Pumps. People love those ladies over at the I've Had It. There they are on stage. They won an award, and they were also backstage interviewing the folks as they won their awards. They're doing backstage interviews. And so the stars of the night were them, and I think the Heated Rivalry guys were there. The two guys who were not the main couple in the show, the Canadian guy, I forget his name, and then the guy who was the skater who kissed the guy on the ice, and I don't want to spoil it, and the guy who worked in the smoothie thing, they were there. And then also the main character, Connor Story, I think is his name, he was there last night. So those were the stars. People were very excited to see them. So it was a beautiful night. And then, of course, the biggest star of the night, Liza Minnelli, who just looks like Judy Garland as time goes on. It's like she's the spitting image of Judy. So, and she's great. Her new memoir or autobiography is coming out, and her birthday is soon as well. So thank you guys for supporting. Be informed without being inundated until I see you back here this evening at 5 p.m. Eastern time for the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel. I want you to turn the TV off. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.